Working on my cardio, it's perfect with this audio. You better call an audible. Celebrate this victory win, it's so applaudable. I don't need the audience here, cause this is all I know. Crossover, fade away, we living in a great time. Better get your weight up or get ate up at the baseline. This'll be the jump off. Started with a jump ball. Throw the alley-oop off to my crew, now that's a dunk ball. 2 points and 1, you about to foul out. Free throw all net, everybody wild out. I can let my game talk, you were just a loudmouth. We can get the ring with the whole team and then the crowd shout.
Hello again, Irish fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Bray. I'm Jack Nolan, joined as always by the head coach of the Fighting Irish. And Mike, we always talk about 1-1 weeks in the ACC are pretty good weeks, but this one a little disappointing because your team had played so well in consecutive wins over Boston College and Miami, only to get shut down by the very tough defense of Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it was disappointing, Jack, because I thought we were in position to get 3 in a row and beat a ranked team and a team that's above us in the standings, in the top of the standings. We've not been able to get over that hurdle. Give Virginia Tech credit. They thoroughly defended us, and we had a really hard time doing anything on the offensive end.
Now, one other thing that did happen this week that didn't get a lot of publicity because it doesn't show up in the final score, but the Virginia Tech game was your team's suits versus sneakers week game, and during the pandemic, nobody's wearing any suits, but you did wear special face masks as a staff representing a cause that you have helped raise more than $3 million for during your time in South Bend, Coaches versus Cancer.
Well, I can't thank the South Bend community enough for how they've embraced this charity. Over $3 million raised, and now we have the Harper Cancer Center across the street, and we are sponsoring, I think, 4 to 5 grants over there. So it's been a fantastic charity. It's been the chosen charity of basketball coaches, and we've been really, having fun with it. Rick Peltz has been the point man to run it in all our August events, and again, this community has really embraced it. And even though the pandemic and COVID has kind of taken the attention away from cancer, it's still out there and we're still trying to beat it.
Folks, when we come back, we will take you down to Miami for a look at Notre Dame's outstanding performance in their second conference win of the season. You're watching Inside Notre Dame Basketball, presented by the experts at TireRack.com. It's time now for our game breakdown, brought to you by our friends at Meijer. Did you get everything you wanted by changing the starting lineup at Miami?
I did, Jack. I think I did. We had everybody on their toes and awake. And what was really neat to see? The guys that didn't start, that had been starting, root for and pull for the blue shirts that started. That was a really neat team dynamic that you're never sure is going to be there when you do something like that. But we have great kids, as you know, and they were really supportive. And then they came off the bench and really played well. So I thought maybe it was a good teaching moment. We all learned something about ourselves that night.
And the blue team, which included 3 first-time starters, played really hard. They did struggle shooting, starting 1 for 7, but the one was the last shot the group took, a 3 by Nick Jogo that allowed the blue team to leave the floor after 4 minutes, down just 6-3. That was a huge shot by Nick.
We needed something to go in. That group wasn't sure who they were offensively. And that's okay, but Nick threw one in, and then we got those other 4 guys in and let them play with Cormac Ryan for a while, and we kind of started to find the rhythm in the first half.
Now, Miami led 15-14 with Hubb and Durham combined on a very nice screen and roll that triggered a 13-3 run, with 7 of the points scored by Juwan to give you a 9-point lead and control of the game.
Well, Hubb, I thought, for the second straight game, amazingly focused on both ends of the floor and really was running things. And it was great for Juwan. We were able to get him over the top on some ball screen roll stuff. And he is a big target. And Trey and Cormac and Apprentice, who are really good passers, they're able to find him over the top sometimes. And we were able to do it a bunch on Sunday night.
Apprentice always responds to being challenged. He always shows up when the lights are brightest. He also always plays well when he's ticked off. And he was ticked off by not starting, and he channeled that into one of his best performances of the year.
Apprentice is a guy that, when you hold his feet to the fire a little bit, he really rises to the occasion. And I love coaching him. And he is a tough guy. He wants to win. He wants to lead. And I thought he, again, was kind of the straw that stirred the drink for us on Sunday night in Miami.
One of those big plays was a deep three from the top of the key in the final minute of the first half that gave you an 8-point lead. And as good as he was in the first half, even better in the second half, scoring 11 of his 19 points in the second stanza and dishing out 6 of his game-high 9 assists. And I know we named him the Radio Network player of the game, and he tweeted out that he was feeding his big guys. His big guys were eating. He takes a lot of pride in setting up other folks to score.
He really does. He's really got a high basketball IQ. He really understands the game, and he likes getting everybody involved. And it was neat to see our big guys deliver and get some angles to the bucket.
And the other guy who really took over in the second half was Nate Leshesky, who scored 13 of his 16 points and grabbed 6 of his 10 rebounds in half number 2.
He continues to have a really good year for us, Jack. I'm thrilled with the development and improvement for him. And so he's done a better job of driving and rolling to the bucket and getting stuff around the bucket and getting fouled.
We'll be back with more on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball right after this. So the Irish packed their 73-59 win over Miami onto the plane for the long flight back to South Bend to get ready for a Wednesday rematch with 20th ranked Virginia Tech. Now, Mike, unfortunately, Cormac Ryan could not play against the Hokies because of a foot sprain he suffered at Miami, and the Hokies came in with a physical defense that absolutely refused to let your guys get into the paint.
Jack, it's really 2 games against Virginia Tech. I have the utmost respect for them as a team and a defense. And their ball pressure and their physicality, really, for the second game, we couldn't get any rhythm at all. We had 9 turnovers in the first half. We tried a little bit of different lineups, different looks, and we really couldn't get anything. Every time we even had an angle to the bucket, an athletic recovery and block shot by them, it's almost demoralizing. And so, again, for us, we held them to 62 points on 40% shooting. That's about as good as our defense is going to be against a team like that that's gifted offensively. But, we just couldn't find anything offensive. And I think their physicality kind of wears you down mentally and physically throughout a game.
It was one of your better defensive performances of the year, which of course is lost in the loss, but you need that to win, and you need your main guys to play well, and you really had that too. Apprentice Hubb had his 3rd straight outstanding game, and he kept you in the game. 17 first half points, including 3 threes on the way to a game-high 22.
He looked around and nobody else was really going, and we tried to, and he tried to get him involved, and so he said, okay, I'll do it. And that's what he's done a lot. Probably too much. He's had to do that too much for us this year. But I have the utmost respect for the kid because he just is fighting and scratching and trying to help his team whatever way possible.
Just about any team that's halfway decent on defense can take a guy out of the game. You guys do it a lot, and Tech took Nate Leshesky out of the game. They limited him to 4 shots. He made 3, but other than getting a little frustrated with the foul situation because he got called for some chippy ones, he fought hard all game and he grabbed a game-high 10 rebounds.
He is a fighter. We couldn't find anything for him to get going. We tried to post him a little bit against the guard. They did a great job taking that away. His driving areas were taken away by speed. He got a couple things on the backboard, and when he can't score or get into a rhythm, it's going to hurt our team. Having said that, Nate only knows one way to play. He plays really hard. He plays very physical. He did get a couple of cheap calls. I thought it was not a great night for him on that end of the court, but You know, we're going to need him to score to beat anybody, not just ranked teams.
In the second half, your guys started to aggressively attack the paint, and it led to 10 free throws, and you ended up basically playing Tech even in the second half. The hole was too deep, but is that something this team needs to be more consistent in doing when they face that kind of defense?
Yeah, I think so, Jack. And you know, I didn't do as good a job as I could in preparation. And, you know, we really maybe can't post as much. Do we just keep the floor open, swing it? And our thing in the second half was swing it and drive, and see if you can get fouled. And we did. But we couldn't get any of that in the first half. We tried to go to the low post a little bit to Juwan. That helps us. But he couldn't. He had a tough night finishing. And so anyways, I think, you know, it's something to think about moving forward against any team, just, you know, spreading out the floor, especially when Nate's the only big and he's not posting. He's outside the arc, and we're moving and we're ready to drive the basketball.
For a variety of reasons, it's been a very challenging season. One of the big reasons is you have played the 9th toughest schedule in the country, the toughest schedule in the ACC, and you're pushing every button, looking at every option you have. And in the second half, you put Tony Sanders in, and he played really, really well. He gave you 10 really good minutes, and I would imagine he might have earned some more playing time.
He gave us some great energy. He's athletic, and obviously their athletic ability was bothering us, and you know, he's been on my mind because he's been practicing really well and battling, but not really getting much playing time. But I think moving forward, you know, I mean, everybody's available. You know, you just got to keep everybody ready to go. But I liked what he gave us.
So Virginia Tech snaps Notre Dame's 2-game winning streak with a 62-51 win in Purcell Pavilion. Coach will take control of the video on this week's edition of Irish Intel right after this short timeout on Inside Notre Dame Basketball. It's time now for this week's edition of Irish Intel. This is where we give control of the video to Coach Bray as we break down some of the best plays from the previous week of action. Our first play this week is a well-executed pick and roll against Miami between Apprentice Hubb and Juwan Durham.
Well, Apprentice Hubb and Juwan Durham hooked up a bunch in Miami the other night, but this is just beautiful. And Apprentice drags it, then he gets through it, and then there's a big target in Juwan. The one thing about Juwan Durham, when he rolls, he is a big target and we can throw over the top. And then his footwork there was really beautiful, not to travel and to finish strong.
Mike, we often ask the players, what do you hear most often from Coach Bray in practice? Well, I've been to a lot of practices, and I often hear you say, we want to get out and run for easy baskets. And early in the second half against Miami, you did just that. A great transition 3. Juwan Durham got the rebound, quick outlook to Hubb, who pushed it quickly up the floor to Trey Wirtz, who knocked down the long 3.
Well, we were talking about stop scores, get a stop and score. And when you get a stop and you don't have to take the ball out of bounds, you're more apt to be able to run. And we're really good, I think, when we're in transition because we can stretch the floor and we can pass the ball. But this is beautiful to kind of find Trey in transition after a stop, spreading the floor. And he's getting more and more comfortable and confident in our system offensively.
Mike, everybody knows that Apprentice Hubb is your quarterback, but getting Prentice off the ball can lead to some very good things on offense, as we see on this play from early in the second half at Miami.
Well, the one thing about Trey Wirtz and Cormac, they can handle the ball up top and be the point guard, as we are in this set. And Prentice comes down and uses a stagger screen, and he curls it and just does a fabulous job when Juwan's man helped to kind of get on up there and get him a layup and a big-time finish. And we ran actually that single-double look. We ran that twice, and we got 2 dunks off of it with Prentice curling. But again, you like moving Prentice around a little bit so he's not always up top facing the teeth of the defense in ball screen stuff.
Coach, our final play this week involves Nate Laszewski. He is the focus of everybody's defensive effort this year, so he has had to get better in moving without the ball, and he has been improving in that every week, including against Miami this past week.
Well, he presents himself as a great receiver. Miami's starting to trap and rotate, being down and come after us a little bit. And Apprentice, again, does a great job of kind of seeing open people here. We throw it out of the trap. Nate's a receiver there. We swing it. We get into it, kind of a give and go almost kind of look. But Nate being a receiver against that trapping defense started the whole thing, and really great unselfishness then by our group.
We'll be back with more on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball right after this. Joining us now is Irish junior guard Apprentice Hubb. Hubb is Notre Dame's second leading scorer at 14.6 points per game and leads the Irish in assists at 5.1 per game, the second best total in the ACC. Apprentice is in the midst of his best sequence of conference play this season against Boston College, Miami, and Virginia Tech. Hubb has averaged 18 points, 7.3 assists, and 4 rebounds per game while hitting a ton of big shots and playing outstanding defense. Mike, why has Apprentice been so effective these last 3 games?
Well, he's been pretty darn effective ever since he stepped on campus, and it's neat to see him now grow into his body. He's got great strength. I think he's become a better defender the last 3 games and really engaged. And I think it's carried over to his, offensive side of the ball. He's got a great feel on the offensive end.
Apprentice, I've been watching you since you arrived on campus, both in games and practice. I know how hard you work, always trying to get better. Why did you settle on Notre Dame?
I really thought I could develop as a player. And along with the great combination of school and basketball and playing in the ACC, I wanted to play against one of the best competition day in and day out. And also, I really trusted in Coach Bray and had faith that he could take my game to where I wanted to be. Just talking to him, and he's been recruiting me for a while, and he just, we developed that bond together, and I felt as though I could trust him.
Talk a little bit about your one of the things we did after the Virginia road swing is kind of, get down and challenge each other defensively. Talk a little bit about how you're preparing defensively, because I think the last 3 games you have taken it to another level on the defensive end.
Yeah, I think that battling against each other in practice every day, and you and the rest of the coaching staff really emphasizing that the game, we need to start on defense, and that, our defense has been a little lackadaisical before that Virginia game, and I think that it's helped me a lot being able to just start my game on defense, because when I'm playing more aggressive on defense and with a faster pace, it just helps the offense.
Thanks for taking the time to visit with us today, Apprentice.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, P. Thanks.
We'll be back with more on this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball right after this. Mike, another big challenge for your team on the road this weekend against a Pittsburgh team that has already beaten Duke, swept Syracuse, and features a player of the league candidate, the top scorer and rebounder in the league, in Justin Champagnie.
Huge challenge, player of the year candidate, a team that'll come out and physically defend us like Virginia Tech. So we're going to have to be stronger with it and take care of the ball better. And then can we sit down and defend athletic ability, and can we rebound well enough to keep them off the offensive board? So yet another amazing challenge in an ACC slate, and the schedule that we played really from Thanksgiving on.
And then it's back home for a 5 p.m. Tuesday evening game against Wake Forest.
It's Wake trending up, got their first league win, and Wake's a little bit like us. We're kind of fighting like heck to figure ourselves out and climb the ladder in the league.
Folks, that will do it for this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Bray. Coach and I will return next week to break down all the highlights of the Pitt and Wake Forest games. Until then, for Coach Bray, I'm Jack Nolan. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, and as always, go Irish.